Welcome to the Sporty Sibling Podcast,
where we score touchdowns and make bets.
To Trier. Trier drives down and throws it down. Alonzo Trier.
Today they're gonna match off and talk about
Welcome back to the Sporty Saving Podcast with our first Wednesday show on the RYM YouTube page. So excited to be here today. So excited and cannot wait to keep showing you guys this new format that we're trying out, and we're hoping you guys enjoy it and you guys get to truly see everything that we're doing here at the Sporty Saving Podcast. But of course, what are we going to talk about for our first show? Oh yeah, March Madness. First and foremost, I'm hurt. My Aggies lost. My bracket fell in the first day. And overall, it was just horrible. Horrible. In both men and women's. Yeah. But oh well, let us get started. So Panda, take us to the first section. And the first part of the men's tournament is the South Conference, I guess, section of the tournament. And we're going to start it off with a very easy one. Alabama versus Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Let's be serious. Alabama was dominant in the first half, scoring 54 points. And even with the slow second half, Alabama had a 47.1% field goal percentage and a 45.5%, and was 45.5% from the three-point line. But give some credit to A&M CC for challenging Bama in the second half. You know, it got a little worrisome for them. In the end, they still ended up winning 96-75, which, again, not bad. Not bad at all. Next, you have Maryland versus West Virginia. Now, this game was a little concerning for the Tar Pits. Let's be serious. But somehow they were able to keep things under control behind Julian Reese, who had 17 points, 9 rebounds, and Coach Kevin Willard, who trusted his team to come back from a 12-point deficit to move on to the second round. Personally, this is one of my favorite games of the tournament. It had everything from stress to fun to just everything. So, yeah, overall, very good game. Next, we had San Diego State against Charleston. San Diego State did take this one 63-57, but you got to think about last year. Last year, Matt Bradley's mind was just set on that, okay? He remembered how last year ended, and he did not want to repeat it. The Aztecs followed behind Bradley's 17-point game to move on to the second round of the tournament, but you still have to sit here and give Charleston a lot of credit, because in the second half, they looked like they could make an upset, but Matt Bradley was not going to let that happen, and he was just not enough. San Diego took this one. Very good. Another very good game. The first upset of the tournament, Virginia versus Furman. No, again, one of the biggest upsets of the tournament. And the start of ruined brackets, even for me, for millions of people. I mean, it was horrible. Furman was on Virginia like flies on poop, okay? They had 30 defensive rebounds, made every point count. They made Virginia earn every basket, and even though Furman was only 35.7% from three-point line, they rose up and they stayed close to the game, and it was Virginia's lack of success from the three-point line, because they were only 16.7%, that allowed Furman to not only stay close, but take advantage of it and move up to the second round and ruin all of our brackets. Next, we have Creighton versus NC State. Creighton takes this one 72-63. The Blue Jays were about as useful from the outside as I am, ladies and gentlemen. With only a 50% from the three-point line, how did they manage to still pull off a very close win? I have zero clue. Wait, maybe I do have a clue. The guy's name is Ryan Kalbrenner. This young man scored a career-high 31 points. I mean, if that doesn't tell you that's how they do it, and mind you, that was still a bad night for them. He scored 31 points, and that's a bad night for them. But again, give some credit to NC State, who had DJ Burns Jr. and Ebenezer Dewanen in foul trouble. So there wasn't really a fair shot in NC State's side. I believe that if they both had done it, I don't think they could have pulled this off, but I'm not sure. Still a good game. Creighton wins it. Next, you have Baylor versus UCSB. Simple. Baylor win this one. Baylor was dominant in every aspect of the game. Even when they were down by 1 at halftime, it was not an issue. They came back to win it and move on. Plain. Missouri versus Utah State. Missouri was able to win without their captain, Trey Gomillion, thanks to Kobe Brown. And in the second half, thanks to Kobe Brown and Demoy Hodges' big night. Now, do not get it twisted. It was a very close game overall, especially in the second half. But with Brown and Hodges scoring 20 straight points, there was nothing Utah could do but start planning the ride home. Okay? Arizona versus Princeton, another game that made everyone's bracket just break. When the game started, we all figured Arizona was going to control the game, and that is what happened. But with 2 minutes left, Ryan Lambert helped lead the Tigers to their first lead of the game with the late game run while still holding Wildcats to 0 points, allowing Princeton to take the game 55-59. Perfect. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, Panda, take us to the next game. Now we're in the Midwest. We're going to start with Houston versus North Kentucky. This game was funny, okay? Northern Kentucky fans know better and should know better than to talk smack before the fat lady sings. Because even with tying the game at 36-all with 16 minutes left in the game, Jarace Walker was able to put up 16 points to keep ahead and move on to the second round. When will schools learn? Stop talking trash. Second game, Iowa versus Auburn. I had Auburn winning this one. Auburn impressed me versus Iowa. Johnny Broom had 19 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 blocks. I was not expecting that from him, but after going up 17 points in the second half, it was over for the Hawkeyes. Seriously, they did make it a good game, and I was quite impressed with it, and did cut the lead twice within a three-pointer, but in the end, with 6 Auburn players scoring double figures, there was no comeback hope for the Hawkeyes. Auburn took this one to move on to the next round. Miami versus Drake. I had I had Miami winning this one, which they did. At the half, Drake was poised to be another huge upset, but Najil Pack, Wogan Polar, and Norchard Omier had other plans behind the Hurricanes. Najil Pack led the team with 21 points that included the go-ahead shot to send the Canes to the second round. It also helped that the Bulldogs missed their last 7 shots and were held to 0 points in the final 4 minutes of the game. Even then, Darrell Brody had 20 points, 9 rebounds for the Dogs, which helped keep it a close and very exciting game. Indiana versus Kent State. Of course, Indiana took this one. The Hoosiers fans stayed up late to watch the Jackson Davis show. He was scoring 24, 11 rebounds, and 5 blocks. He could do everything and nothing at the same time. Oh, and let's not forget, he also a team player and had 5 assists. His fellow teammates know in demolishing the Kent State move. Kent State, the Hawkeyes, or Golden Eagles, whatever they are. But they move on. Iowa State versus Pitt. I actually had Iowa State winning, but Pitt took this one. Pitt put on a show against Iowa State by holding them to a 23% shooting and having Nelly Cummings score 13 points, Jamaris Brown 11 points, and Greg Elliott with 10 points. 3 players with double digits. The Cyclones only just had a bad night, missing their first 11 shots and adding 2 other 0-point stretches. I mean, you can't do that and expect to win. I think the fact that they had a delay in the game and were shooting on what they call defective basket really shot their confidence, and well, bad night ended their hopes of moving forward. Now we have Xavier versus Kennesaw State. Xavier won this one definitively. Let us give up to the Kennesaw State Owls. For if it was not for Jack Nugent, amazing defense, they might have made history versus Xavier. Okay, all right. Terrell Bruden and Chris Youngblood led the way for the Owls with 14 points, and they played to the paint and made the Musketeers sweat. Okay, but at the end, the Musketeers decided enough is enough, with Salih Bohm hitting his 4 free throws in the last 3 minutes of the game, while Jerome Hunter scored a career-high 24 points with additional to Bomb's 17, which was again enough to dry off the sweat and help them move on. Next one is my Aggies against Penn State. I lost the bet here, and I gotta go find a UT shirt, guys. It's gonna suck. So keep an eye on our social media for that one. But I want to say first, Andrew Funk, was good. No, this kid showed up out of nowhere. He was 8 for 10 from the 3-point line and finished with 27 points. I mean, with him leading the way, there was just nothing the Aggies could do. That's all you can really say. I mean, even with the Aggies shooting at 34%, that was just a dominant performance, plain and simple. And lastly, Texas versus Colgate. Sir Jabri Rice, 23 points, and Mary Carr, 17 points, and shooting 13 for 23 from the 3-point line. Texas dominated that game. But let's go look at the East. Now into the East, you had Purdue versus Fair Dickinson, and one of the biggest upsets of the tournament. FDU pulled one of the biggest upset and made history with the NCAA tournament. And this happened behind Sean Moore's 19 points and the defense that shocked not only the Boilermakers but their starter, 7-footer Zach Edey. And even with his 21 points, 15 rebounds, it was not enough. FDU was able to hold the Boilermakers to 0 points for almost the whole second half, while still putting up points to keep the lead and break history. Memphis versus FAU. This was such a good game. Both teams had players that were shooting they were in shooting matches with each other and the opponents. I mean, FAU had Giancarlo Rosado with 15 points, Kendrick Davis with 16 points, while Memphis had Kendrick Davis with 16 and DeAndre Williams who had 13. I mean, that's crazy. It was also crazy that, I guess we can agree that Hardaway should have called that timeout with time left to set up that layup for Brandon Witherspoon for the win, but it is what it is, It is what it is. FAU takes it by 1. Dukes versus Oral Roberts. John Shayer's first NCAA appearance as Duke's head coach started better than he could have hoped. Okay? He got the W. No, I mean, he has big shoes to fill since considering he's trying to replace Hall of Famer coach Mike Krzyzewski. That's hard for anyone to do, and especially him. But he was able to lead the Blue Devils to the win, and with even overcoming injuries, they got them this far. Now, the Blue Devils defense was overpowering and controlled the whole first half, stopping Oral Roberts' 12 straight shots, with 7 being three-pointers. So great first start, Coach Shire. Let's see what you do in the next round. Tennessee versus the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. The Raging Cajuns made the Volunteers sweat by coming back from an 18-point deficit in the second half, but Tennessee knew what they were getting themselves into and stayed focused, calm, and made every shot count they needed and stayed on course to take the W. Tennessee should be worried, though, with 18 turnovers in this game. It's not something you want to keep doing. You turn over like that against higher teams, you may not come up with the win. Something to look forward to. Kentucky versus Providence. Kentucky dominated the game with Oscar Tshiubi's 25 rebounds and Antonio Reeves' 22 points. There was nothing Providence was doing in that one. Plain and simple. Kansas State versus Montana State. First and foremost, before we talk about the game, we got to highlight Keontae Johnson's story here. Okay? In 2020, this young man collapsed while playing for Florida. Doctors told him he may never play again. No. But he worked hard. He was determined. He fought back. And with his last year of eligibility, he transferred to K-State and proved everyone wrong. Okay? He was looking better than he did before he collapsed. No, Johnson had 18 points and 8 rebounds, while his teammate Marquise Knowles have 17 points and 14 assists. This was alone the reason why they were so dominant against Montana State and moved them to the next round. What a great story. I love seeing this. Michigan State versus USC. Tom Izzo was so mad at his team for lack of defense and the officials' lack of play calling that instead of yelling, he went into the half, broke his whiteboard, and that was enough for the players to step up defensively and have 3 players with double-digit points and take that big old W that they needed and wanted. Lastly, Marquette versus Vermont. Cam Jones led Marquette in the second half to the win with the second half 18-point performance to show Vermont the first half was just a fluke. And even though Vermont had 3 players with double-digit points, it was just not enough to stop a dominant performance by not only Jones, also Iguodaro and David Joplin. Big time. Big. But let's head to the West. We had Kansas versus Howard to start off the West. Jalen Wilson helped the Jayhawks cruise past Howard with a 20-point performance, while freshman Grady Dick had 19 points and 11 rebounds. He was the one that put the pin on the Bison to move on to the second round. Easy game. Kansas takes it. Arkansas versus Illinois. Now, the Fighting Illini were acting like a bad case of the cold that just would not go away. You know that cold that just doesn't go away? It's stuck there? Yeah, this was the Fighting Illini. Okay? But Arkansas did what we almost always do, or not do, is we stopped taking our medicines. But Arkansas said, no, I'm going to listen to the doctor and keep taking my medicine. What was that medicine? Oh, how about 18 points by Ricky Council IV and Terrence Shannon Jr., who had 20 points? Yeah, those are some pretty good medicines to have, right? Well, they took them and they move on to the next round. 73-63 Arkansas. St. Mary's versus VCU. I said this before and I'll say it again. Once you set up pace of a game, it's over for the other team. And that's what St. Mary's did here. With 4 players with double-digit points and 37 rebounds combined, there was nothing VCU could do to make a comeback or even expect to win. Plain and simple. UConn versus Iowa. Plain and simple. UConn dominated the game behind Adam Sanogo and Jordan Hawkins' game. They destroyed Iona decisively. Plain and simple. TCU versus Arizona State. Arizona State season ended in a heartbreak, guys. Let's be serious. Let's all be serious here and know that that's what happened. And even as close as the game was against TCU, TCU was just too good for the Sun Devils to even stop them. It was combined effort by the whole TCU team and a whole questionable decision by ASU head coach Buddy Hurley, who should have called timeout before Frankie Collins took the shot that was missed. Maybe that would have been the equalizer or the difference maker in the game. But as bad as that miss was, it's something he's going to have to think about later. It is what it is. TCU moves on. Gonzaga versus GCU. Gonzaga started slow, but after realizing who they were and where they were, they dominated. Okay? Julian Strouder had 28 points and 10 rebounds, and GCU is going home. Northwestern versus Boise State with Boo Boy. I love that name. Can never say it, so I apologize for saying it wrong. But with Boo at the helm for Northwestern, there was nothing to worry about in the first round. especially after scoring a high 22 points and allowing them to stay ahead the whole game. Boise State just could not defend against him. Northwestern moves on. And of course, UCLA started fast, as they always do, behind 17 points of Jamie Jacques Jr., and he was just all over after that for NC Asheville. UCLA moves on. But let's go ahead and go to the second round and look at what happened there. Second round of the NCAA men's tournament. We're starting off in the South again. Alabama versus Maryland. And I'm going to keep this simple. Okay? Alabama rolled over the Terrapins, in a drama-free 73-51 win. Okay? Javon Carter scored 22 points. Brandon Miller heated up more with 19, and just that enough was just about all they needed to do it. Okay? It was just bam. Ding. Second one. Furman versus San Diego State. San Diego State Aztecs. Sorry, got my notes all messed up. I was really hoping for Furman to do something, but San Diego dominated the game with 16 points for Micah Parrish, who was on pace, just to be a great player here. Darion Tarmel had 13 points, and Lamont Butler added 12, while, of course, Matt Brand still finished as the leading scorer for the Aztecs. No, again, this was a great performance by the Aztecs. Furman, you were beautiful, but sorry. Creighton versus Baylor. I was actually able to watch half of this game through dinner, and I was pissed off because Baylor should have won this. No. But sophomore guard Ryan Negbar had a career-high 30 points for Creighton, which was just like, where did this kid come from in this game? He was just shooting the basket might as well be 10 feet wide because everything was going for him. Even though Baylor heavily focused on containing Ryan Kilburner, Nembar, was just working on the outside. They shot 45.8% from the 3-point range. And that's talking about that 3-for-20 in the first round win over North Carolina State. So, huge difference here, ladies and gentlemen. They also went 22-for-22 from the free throw line, including 10-for-10 for Nembar himself. So, behind this performance, the Baylor Bears had no choice but to say, bye-bye, we'll see you next year. And in the big upset, for the second time in this tournament, you had Princeton versus Missouri. What? Blake Peters made 5 3-pointers in the whole second half, and that was impressive because if it wasn't for those 5 3-pointers, we might be looking at this thing differently. Okay? Princeton was just all around, they're playing so amazingly. There's no words to describe this whole performance. Ryan Lamborn led Princeton with 22 points, while Peters added 17. And even though DeAndre Golston scored 19 points and Noah Carter scored 14 for Missouri, it was still not enough. Okay? It was still not enough. Those 3-pointers, and keeping the lead was just everything. I'm sorry. There's really nothing more I can say. The fact that Princeton did everything they need to control the ball, keep the pace, and told the Tigers, go home. We're the real Tigers. Boom. So Princeton, congratulations to make it to the Sweet 16. Let's go ahead and go to the Midwest second round and see everything that came up there. Where are we? In the Midwest, sorry. We started off with Auburn versus Houston. Of course, Houston took this one 81-64 on a pretty good and a decent game. But what really surprised me was I didn't know this until I started working on the show for this. Marcus Sasser was actually injured during this game. He was actually dealing with a groin injury and stayed in most of the game. No, now it was actually quite helpful that Tremon Mark scored a career best 26 points but he was still able to add 22 points. No wonder the Cougars won, okay? And 22 of those points, 5 were three-pointers. That's ridiculous, okay? They ran away with this game. And what I like the most about this is that they wiped out a 10-point half deficit to win it all. I mean, no wonder. Mind you, Sasser is hurt, okay? Tremon is trying to do everything he can to win this. And they're down 10 points, and they do this. I mean, I was completely wrong about the Cougars. They truly deserve their number 1 seed, and they did what they did. Now, let's see if they can keep it going, because Sasser needs to get healthy if they want to keep this up, because it's going to be a hard-fought road again next. Next, we have Miami versus the Hoosiers. Isaiah Wong and Jordan Miller were just questionable in the first half, but were so honest and decisive in the second half that they led the Hurricanes to the Sweet 16 with such a strong and dominant performance. Mind you, Miller had 7 points on Friday, scored 19, and then Najil Pack, who had 10 of his 12 points in the first half, couldn't do anything in the second half. Defense, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, Miami now faces the Houston, but still, with everything that they're doing right now, I'm so excited to see this game between the Hurricanes and the Cougars. It's gonna be an interesting game overall. Next, you have Xavier versus Pitt. Xavier wins at 84-73. Again, just to be notable, Xavier hasn't been in the round of 16 since 2017, so they're excited. But you got to talk about Jack Nudge, who scored 18 points, and that was backed up by Adam Kunkel with 15 in the first half. And then was pretty much slow after that. Now, I will add this. Colby Jones had 10 points, 14 rebounds, and 7 assists, while can't even say his name. Solly Bohm and Jerome Hunter each chipped in with 14 additional points. Okay, these are 5 different starters scoring in double digits. That's amazing. Okay, now Xavier has been leading the country in assists with 19.2 per game. This game alone, they had 17 on 19 baskets in the first half alone. Okay, when you play like that, there is no lead that you cannot handle. And what's more important, they finished with 22 assists. And they made almost every assist, into points. That's how you win. Everyone needs to be worried about Xavier and this rebounding, because that is how you win games. I have Xavier really, really pushing it forward in the next round. Now Texas against the Natty Lions. Texas won this one, but... And yeah, no, I don't have much to say on this one, but I will add this. I don't know what happened to the Natty Lions, because Texas was shooting 7.7% from the 3-point line, and yet the Natty Lions still couldn't win that one. I mean, fine. They were 72.7% from the free throw line and 50.8% from the field goal. But come on, Natty Lions, from the free throw line, you tied the Longhorns. You were better at them at the 3-point line and just 9% less in the field goal range. You guys should have won it. Should have won it. And yet, you guys didn't. You guys lost 66-71. What the hell? Texas move on to the Sweet 16, and we're moving on to the East. And now let's go to the East. My face scratch. To start off with FDU versus FAU. FDU versus FAU. That's a tongue twister. But the Furlan Dickinson Knights had a good run, but Florida Atlantic was like, nope, this is our game. And honestly, it was actually a very good game. Jonell Davis scored 29 points, while Elijah Martin added 14 for FAU. No, which they actually were coming in as underdogs to the Knights, which is quite impressive because this is a 16 against a 9 seed, okay? No, but the Owls did everything they could to put away the Knights very early in the game, which that's what they did with the first half performance of 25-32 was very dominant. No, and again, Zach Edey and the top-seeded Purdue just couldn't do anything against the FDU Knights. No, the Florida Atlantic saw this and they said, nope, we're not going to let you do that. They control the game and they, excuse me, and they even with Demetri Roberts scoring 20 points and Sean Moore another 14, it was not enough because FAU just had such a dominant lead at the half that FDU could not overcome it. Although a great performance by FAU was just a better team in this, and they were edged out. They were able to edge out the win, 78-70. Very excited to see them move forward. Next, you have Duke against Tennessee, and what can I say about Coach? You were trying to make it all the way and didn't, but that's okay. Okay, Olivier Nacumhouse, I think that's how you say his name. Was a little. He played very well. So did Oruso Plavistic. Who was like, "Come on, let's go." Boom. I'm so excited to see both of them because he tied his career high with 27 points, which I didn't realize this when I watched this game. It was quite impressive, but he had 13 straight for Tennessee during the second half stretch, which really pulled away from Duke to win the game. Now, I went back and looked at this because when I read this like 3 different times, and I was like, wait, no. I went back to look at the highlights, and sure enough, boom, boom, boom. This kid was amazing. That's exactly what they needed to do to, get everything they needed. Now, they also had Santiago Vescovi with 14 points and 5 assists, which again, that's what they needed. They needed to continue doing everything they can. And although John Shire played a great coaching game with Duke in the first round and even to get here, it was just not meant to be for Duke. Tennessee wins it. But Duke should be happy. Their replacement for Coach Krasinski is good, and you guys are in good hands for the future. But remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. Krasinski did not build Duke in a day. It's going to take some time to get back to greatness. Next is Kentucky versus Kansas State. Again, we're going to talk about Marquise Nowell, who just hasn't lost faith in his teammates. And even after everything that's been going on with the story of his own teammate, Johnson, it was just, it was great. This was another great game, a very close matchup at the first half, 26-29 with Kansas State leading at the half, and even a very good comeback in the second half by Kentucky. But Noel scored 23 of his 27 points after the half, which allowed Kansas State to stay dominant and stay ahead of the game, hitting clutch 3-pointers, to be able to top the Kentucky Wildcats, and at the end, moving on to the next round. Love these stories. Let's go to the next one. Then we have Michigan State versus Marquette. I also watched this game, and I'm so pissed off because I had Marquette making it further than this, but with Michigan State outlasting them, I don't know what the heck happened here. I watched the end of this game, and Marquette couldn't shoot to save his life. I don't understand. I don't understand what the freak happened. Okay? Joey Hunter had 14 points. A.J. Howard had 13. But what the heck? They still couldn't do anything. All right? I guess Coach Izzo breaking that whiteboard in round 1 was just enough to get them moving forward. In the end, Michigan State moves on. Let's go to the West. Arkansas versus Kansas. Now, Arkansas going into the half were down by 12. And they were like, what the heck was going on? But Devontae Davis and Council were not going to let this go on. And by the end of the game, they both had scored 25 points and 21 respectively to win the game. Now, something that I did not realize while looking at my research from the first half, and now Kansas is playing without coach Bill Self, who's still sick. Hope he gets better soon. So I think this is the reason why defensively they weren't as well. Bill Self is a very good defensive coach and a very much offensive-minded opportunist. So I think had Coach Self been there, it would have been different. Now, Arkansas should still get credit because they did great to not get worried and not overstress about that 10-point deficit at the half, with Davis scoring 21 points in the second half to help help Arkansas. Now, again, I firmly believe that not having Bill Self was the main reason for the loss. Arkansas should still get credit because they played a great defensive game and they were stopping everything and making every shot count. It was just great. I love this game, but Arkansas is moving on to the Sweet 16. UConn versus St. Mary's. Now, UConn is an interesting matchup here because just the way they played was different in this round from the first round. Adam Sonago scored 24 points, and Jordan Hankins was able to just shoot from the 3-point line like it was right in front of him. I mean, let's be serious. It was just freaking great. 70-55 win. Was just wow. Okay, I just don't know what to say more. That 20 plus point performance by Sonago was just so wonderful. I mean, I just did not see this coming. They're playing differently. They want to be there. Man, I can't say anything more than wow. But let's move on to the next one. TCU versus Gonzaga. This is actually a very good game, a very close game. I honestly thought TCU was gonna get it, but Drew Time had another thing coming. Something about him this night was just like, blah. No, he just blah. Scoring that 3-pointer that helped them, win the game was great, but with finishing with 28 points is amazing. Okay? Mind you, what makes it even bigger is that Time made his first 3-pointer in December. This is his only third in the season. And it's a game winner. That's huge. That is huge. Mike Miles Jr. also finished with 24 points and 4 assists. For another great game for the Horned Frogs, but it was not enough to win the game. Although I will say this, if it wasn't for Mike Miles being so good, I don't think the Horned Frogs could have won this one. Gonzaga moves on. UCLA versus Northwestern, and unfortunately for UCLA, they might have lost David Singleton for the rest of the tournament, but we don't know. He did go down late in the game with some kind of injury. I think it's an ankle injury from what I've read so far, but nothing that I can confirm. But they do need him back. Okay, now the hopes are that they get him back in the lineup, because they're already missing their defensive starter in Jalen Clark. So, they need both of them. Lucky for them, Jamie Jacquizz Jr. scored 34 points to withstand the Northwest wild comeback. But, be mindful, if they did lose him again, I don't think they can do this again. The Bruins are very much need to turn up the defensive intensity because Northwestern was coming back. Okay? They were coming back. And yes, Northwestern was 1 for 12 in the shooting range, in late with key spots late in the game. But had they not had that intensity from James Jacquizz Jr., I don't think the Bruins could have won this one. In the end, they still outlasted the Wildcats. UCLA should be careful, and we hope the best for David Singleton. Get better soon. You need to get back on the court, sir. Now into the Sweet 16 to get our picks for this tournament. First game, we have Alabama Crimson Tide versus San Diego Aztecs. And it's going to be a pretty even game, I think. Now, the spread does have Alabama winning, it's an over-under of 136, so I would actually take the under on this situation. But overall, I like this game. They're both very good teams. They both have very dominant performances, both averaging around the same percentage in field goals with 44.5 and 44.6 respectively, and almost average in assists and steals. So I think it's going to be a very much defensive-minded game, but I'm still going to give it to Alabama Crimson Tide, edging it out in a close one against the Aztecs. Game number 2, you got Princeton versus Creighton. Again, another very much close game. Everybody gives Creighton the opportunity to win this matchup at an 87.9 percentage, but overall, they're still averaging about the same amount of points with 75 points and the same field goal percentage and around the same amount of rebounds. So to say that they're rebounding pretty close is also a very good thing. Again, the over and under is 140.5 as of when this was recorded. It could change. As a reminder, I would take the under in this one and see how they do because it's going to be an interesting game. I'm still going to give it to Creighton. They're playing defensively very well, and who knows how long Princeton's luck will stay. Miami versus Houston. Again, another very close matchup in here. But here's the big difference. The blocks. Okay? Miami's only averaging 3.2 blocks per game, while Houston is averaging 4.9. Now, in some cases, that may not seem like a lot. But in this situation, it is, considering that Houston is averaging 39.1 rebounds to 35.1 to Miami's, as well as averaging less points to Miami. Okay, Miami's averaging 79.1 to Houston's 74.9. That being said, they're going to need as many blocks to prevent those points from getting any higher. I say Miami takes this one by 3 points in a very close game. But just be aware, the over and under is 135.5. I'm actually not sure. I'll probably take the over on this one, considering the point differential. Xavier versus the Longhorns. Again, Xavier leads in points, field goal percentage, rebounds, assists, and that's it, actually. No, but Texas leads in blocks and steals in this situation. So it's going to be very interesting how a very strong offensive-minded team is going to beat a quite strong defensive-minded team. I'm really excited. Everybody is rooting for Texas to win. And the over and under as of right now, it's 147.5. I'm going to go ahead and take Xavier on this one by a close margin of 3 to 5, actually, considering how well they've been playing. And honestly, I'm not sure if Texas can overcome that 3-point issue that they've had the last 2 games. I'm not comfortable with that in that situation. So Xavier by 3 to 5, take it or leave it. Next, you have Florida Atlantic versus Tennessee. Okay, guys, Tennessee is just gonna dominate this game. Okay, they have 8.3 steals with 16.1 assists, 16.8 assists. I mean, that's wonderful. All right, and what I like the most is that their field goal percentage is 43.6, and their rebounds are pretty close in both teams with 38.5. So, with that being said, I like Tennessee's defense, but what I am worried is those 18 turnovers versus both Duke and against Duke. I'm sorry, Raging Cajuns against the Raging Cajuns. That was not okay. I'm gonna pick Tennessee to win because they are the better team overall. But if they cost the same issue that they've had with those many turnovers, FAU better keep an eye out because they can take advantage of that. Still, Tennessee to win this one. Also, the over and under is 131.5. I'll probably take the under on this one. Take the over. Michigan State versus Kansas State. I am going with Kansas State simply because of Johnson. I love his story. Plus, Kansas State is averaging more points, field goal percentage, assists, and steals. Okay, that's all you need. I don't think it's going to be enough for Michigan State to win this one. Give me Kansas State for the win. Arkansas versus UConn. Everybody's picking UConn on this one, and it's pretty much agreeing. They're averaging 78.5 points per game with 38.9 rebounds and 17.4 assists. Okay, Arkansas, on the other hand, is averaging 47% from the field goal line, but they're averaging 8.4 steals per game. So a very much matchup. Now, between UConn and Arkansas are about a 4-point difference in that they're averaging. So I'm looking at this about a 4-point difference. I'm going to go ahead and give that 4-point difference to UConn. They win by 4. I would take the over at 139.5. Then lastly, in the Sweet 16, we have Gonzaga versus UCLA. Now, because of the injury that came with UCLA early in the second round, couldn't get the words out, I am not going to pick UCLA. I don't think defensively they were intense enough during that game to win it all. I am going to go ahead and root and shoot for Gonzaga. Plus, Gonzaga is averaging 87.3 points per game, 52% from the field goals, 37.6 rebounds per game, to include 16.4 assists and 7.5 steals. That's enough for me. I would take the over on this one from 145.5. Man, interesting Sweet 16. Let's see which ones I get wrong. Yes, that is all the time we have for you guys today. As you can see in the back, my puppies are anxious to get out, for me to get out of here and play with them. But as always, guys, thank you so much for listening. We truly do appreciate it. It's because of y'all that I'm able and that we are able to get all this started. And yes, Remy, I know it's almost time. But, Remy, as you just mentioned, do follow us on all social media. Follow the RYM Network. Follow this YouTube page so that you can keep watching our shows. And as always, remember, guys, 2 shows now. All right? So Wednesdays and on YouTube TV in the RYM channel. And Saturdays on Roku TV. So stay tuned. Get excited. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll see y'all soon. Bye-bye.